it felt unusual.
I dug it.
Well, thank you, sir. How the heck are you?
Good. How are you?
I can't complain. It's been a while.
Yes, I'm glad you were able to stop by the Circle R Ranch on your busy schedule.
Yes.
And pluck away.
It's good to pluck away. It's also good to go to Tony Packo's.
Yes. Yes.
As we pluck away, before, after, during. A lot of people don't know the power of Tony Packo's. We've talked about it many times here at Circle R.
Yes, it's a required stop for you. And you just happen to be at Packo's, you stop by Reverend, right?
Well, yeah, it kind of works together.
Yeah.
It's a joint assault on the mind, the head, and the brain.
Yes, yes.
All three.
Speaking of assaults, I hear you have a new record out.
Well, we do have a record that we put out during the Cove. And we call that From the Up. Now, it's kind of weird that they just, Vintage Guitar Magazine just did a thing, hey, there's new records out. And I'm like, well, that was a year ago, but yes, it is still new. It is still new. We have, and that was called From the Up now, which is kind of funny because my son Dylan, of course, plays drums in the ensemble, has his own lingo. I've been accused of having my own lingo. He's got his own lingo.
Yes.
And when we would go up north, you know, some people just say up north, and he goes, let's go to the Upna. And so we started referring to going up north as going to the Upna. And that just became the name of the record, doggone it. It's, I think we have like 4 vocal tunes on there. The rest are all of our, you know, Koch Marshall Trio, Toby Lee Marshall on the organ. And of course you got Dylan on the drums and myself on the damn guitar. And croaking out some vocals here and there as well. And just a really fun record to do. A lot of the tunes were, a bunch of them were done prior to Cove, but during the Cove we were doing, you know, once it became safe for Toby to come down without us, you know, intermingling pestilence juices. That sounds weird, but you know what I mean. He was able to come down and we were doing live streams and we kept on coming up with new songs, new jams. And so we just finished that rascal off and put it out. Of course, we haven't been able to tour behind it because of COVID-19. COVID-19. Oh no. Anyway, sorry, that all took place. But now we're starting to get out and about a little bit more. And we actually have another record locked and loaded that's ready to go. Toby's got a brand new record with his duo organ and drums called Octocopter. That's very exciting. And so it's just fun to have a bunch of material out. And now we're starting to actually get out and do some touring now that it seems feasible to do so. So actually organized enough to the fact that, you know, we've got the tour vessel. Toby's got this glorious Tahoe. We got a trailer, and so we've got everything packed out. And I have road cases for my amps. Joe, for 50 years, I didn't have road cases for my amps because I'd always fly places and use backline. And, you know, I got a road case for an amp over in Europe, but finally I thought, you know what, if I just get road cases for my amps here, maybe everything will just manifest and we'll start touring.
You are now a real touring act, Greg.
Thank you.
You graduated to the road case crowd.
Thank you.
Yes.
I almost, but I didn't get so far as to doing the stencils. I just duct taped and put the number 1 on it.
I think a jet is next.
Well, it's only a matter of time.
Yes, road case to jet.
And from Tahoe to Learjet.
So there's vocals on this record.
Yeah, well, you know, all my earlier records, they were all more vocally anyway. I've always written songs, and even when I started to do the instrumental stuff.
But you were always singing before that too, though.
What's that?
You were
well,
always
I would
the singer.
sing, you know, I would do more of the bluesy-oriented vocals. I always had kind of a ringer that had a higher range. But here's the funniest thing that I was just talking with old Rick Vito the other day about this, and we were talking about when we had gone out and played, and he was saying, well, I really enjoyed those vocal tunes you did, you enjoyed my range and so on and so forth. And I said, well, the funny thing about it is that it took me 50 years to understand that, I would write songs and they were always around riffs on the guitar. They were never like, well, what's my vocal range? It was like, no, here's my riff. Yeah, I got to have vocals do it. So I always had to have like a ringer in the band that had a higher voice. Yeah. So for years, my first incarnation of my band, I had this drummer, Gary, who's also a great guitar player, but great vocals. And almost like he kind of sounded like halfway between like a Don Henley and a Paul Rogers type of a voice. Just a fantastic timbre to his voice and great delivery. So, and a higher registered voice. So he would always do the tunes that required more high-range finesse. And then, of course, I had this impossible guitar riff I'm not going to be singing and playing at the same time. And then the bass player had a really good harmony voice. So we had I do more of the bluesy-oriented stuff. So now I'm finding I'm writing all these tunes and I'm thinking, and even these tunes that I cover that I always liked and always wanted to do, I move them into a key that's actually conducive to my vocal activity. And lo and behold, I can actually do like inflections and not lose my voice after a song.
You don't have to pay the high note guy either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
you're out of here.
But Toby's got a nice high voice too, so that works out well.
Okay.
So
he's your Michael Anthony.
there you go.
Yeah.
There it is. So we're starting to add more of the vocal tunes in there because I love the KMT stuff and it's rocking, and we keep on coming up with more and more tunes. But I also have 17 records prior to that of some material that it would be nice and when we do it in this format, it has a unique thing. So.
And there's a song about gaining weight during Corona.
I gained a quarantine.
Quarantine,
yes.
yeah.
But Dylan was kind of funny about it. He's like, yeah, can we, now that we're on the road and stuff, can we not sing a song about being fat? We'd actually like to maybe, in his world, he's a young and unmarried. I don't think it's really kind of a good pickup line to say, hey, I'm fat, let's go out, kind of a thing. So, but yeah, it's gained a quarantine. Because it is fun, you're on, during quarantine, man, it's like, what else could we do but sit around and eat?
Yeah.
And, it's kind of a thing. When you've given up everything else in terms of...
Maybe you could substitute something sexier in the set for that.
Right.
For Dylan, like, I'm a man.
Right, exactly. Well, we are doing
maybe some Prince tunes or something.
We're doing a cool version of Can't Be Satisfied. So maybe we'll say, hey, this is for the Dylan.
This is dedicated to my
people.
son.
Right. But for all
that won't be embarrassing at all.
No, that'll be creepy. But we'll try to avoid it.
Yeah.
But you get the idea. So that's that. So we've got, but it's just kind of fun to get out there and play the tunes. And as much as it was really fun during COVID to have we started off with, I do all that stuff for Wildwood, the videos,
the demos.
And then I'd been doing a bunch of stuff for Fishman as well, from developing the pickups to, they'd have the band perform at events and have me do clinics here and there. But they knew that I had this following online, and so they were kind of pivoting towards. Doing more stuff online anyways prior to COVID, and then when COVID came, it just kind of forced the issue.
Yeah.
So they started sending me gear. So the first it was just, we had a USB mic and a laptop that we would use for that, and Dylan and I would do, like little duo streams, and then Dylan ended up getting a new computer, a new Mac, and had Logic on there, and had a little Focusrite Scarlett device that we could interface and had some stuff going, and then we're like, well, if we bring Toby down, we're going to need something with more inputs. So then a buddy of mine who was working at Tascam got a hold of me. He's like, hey, I've been watching your live streams, and Tascam would really like to be involved in somehow. How would that work? And so we ended up saying, well, one of those Model 24s would be killer. And so we use a Model 24 as the interface now. And then we bought a couple more cameras. And so, and I should mention that I am not the most technically astute.
And this is all happening at your house?
At my house,
okay.
Right. So we've turned the layer.
And this was during
COVID, we continued to do it, but
yeah.
we started. Oh, I dropped my pen. We keep on doing these live streams, and it went from being like 1 camera, 2 camera. Now it's a 4 camera thing. I got a foot switch to mixing the cameras around, and my buddy Ryan actually beams in from Boston. Ryan, who works for Fishman, he beams into the computer and does sound checks for us, and we'll do sound. And so even when we do streams that are just the band, where we do for tips or whatnot. I'll pay Ryan to kind of zap in, and he's changing cameras for us. He's
doing this remote.
Yeah, from Boston, zapping into my
kidding.
Computer like the ghost of the machine.
So basically, having this set up in your house is kind of basically like a gig, but you don't have to drive there.
Right.
You don't have to put up with bandmate farts, none of that.
Well, actually, for that hour, yes, I do.
Yeah, that's true. You are in a room.
But what was great, and so I had no complaints. But then when we got out, did the Dallas show a couple weeks ago, and so on and so forth. When you get out, and we have a couple gigs other than that, when you get out and actually get in front of people, even the people that have been following, watching the live stream, they're like, man, live it's completely different.
Well, of course,
so,
yeah.
So
real humans.
Exactly, real humans. That interaction thing, the whole, magic.
Without the fear.
Yes, exactly.
Hopefully.
So it's nice to kind of have both, because we still do the live stream stuff. And we've got it dialed in where we know the quality control is snap, crack-a-lackin'. But because we did so many live streams, that I think there's a lot of goodwill out there that people want to come out and see the ensemble. We just got to get the word out. And for that, we have Michaela. Michaela, we see you out there. Anyway, so Michaela, we've hired to help her with our promotion activity, which is nice. So we're just kind of doing all the things that need to be done to get on the road and start.
So she's scheduling for you too?
Well, we got an agent. A couple years back, we got hooked up with a guy named Mike Krug, and his agency is True Grit out of Austin, Texas. And his team of people, our current guy is a guy by the name of Philip Walker. He's down in Nashville, but they do a great job. And that's where we found this Michaela gal as well. So right prior to COVID, we would actually get into a groove where, you know, we would go out on the road and show up at places we'd never played at before. And, you know, when you're, I mean, it's not dissimilar for, I mean, a lot of times you're going into places, you're playing for the door, you know what I mean?
Right,
so you got to make sure people come out, you charge enough for the door so that if they do come out, you're going to make dough. But we realized, man, you get the word out, you know, enough people know about us now from years of doing various different things that you get enough people to come out to the show, and then they're buying all the merch, and Lord knows I got all kinds of different merch stuff now, which is weird because now people show up at gigs and yeah, they'll buy CDs, but if you have vinyl, that's even more attractive. But you know, I sell my hats.
Yeah, with the hats. Where are the hats? The colored hats.
Yeah.
Are we still doing those?
Oh, we're still doing those. I decided to wear this hat today. It's a little hot outside.
Yeah.
But I still got my hats. I got new colors, the Gristle beanies. People love the Gristle beanies. I got my Gristle King pedals. I've got all the different books I've done and all that kind of stuff. So it's just fun that you can go out and it's not as
and where can we find all this stuff, including the new record?
Everything is at gregkoch.com. You can get all that stuff. Of course, the Spotify and all that, and Bandcamp and all the usual places to find. What's interesting is I found out too during COVID. This is interesting. So I had, as I said, 17, 18 records out over the years, but they were all in various different incarnations. So my first band was Greg Koch and the Tone Controls, and then after that I had just Greg Koch, and then it was Greg Koch Trio, then it was Greg Koch and Other Bad Men. And then it was Greg, and I was like, because I thought, well, it'd be good to have all these various derivations so that people know which band is which, right?
Yeah.
Well, in the age of Spotify, what that does is that every one of these records gets parsed out under a different artist, so you can't quantify all of the listens into one place to say, hey, we've got X amount of subscribers and X amount of listens. It's like, well, Greg Koch has X amount. Well, the Tone Controls have this, and the Koch Marshall Trio over here is this. So it's been very hard to kind of get all that stuff going in one place.
Does that mess up your algorithm or something?
Yes, thank you. And so what's funny is that we were talking about in the car on the way over, it's like as much as you'd think people have, these little mini answers to everything in your hand, that they'd be able to find, oh, well, Koch Marshall Trio is this, and that's that stuff, or these guys.
You're elusive.
Exactly.
Yes.
So during COVID, I paid, actually my buddy Mike Krug from the talent agency he grabbed all my old catalog. We got it back from all the a lot of them I still own, but some were in the hands of other record companies. Got them all back, and then proceeded to, my wife redid all the artwork so that it would just say Greg Koch on it and not the anthas, so that we could get everything under one banner. Because you can say what it is and say, well, we just want to list it as Greg Koch, but if it says anything else on the thing, it will automatically create this subcategory.
But now you're the Koch Marshall Trio.
Well, that stuff's on another thing. So it remains, the Greg Koch library of stuff for the previous 17 records is all under one umbrella now, and the Koch Marshall Trio is separate. So we're going to try to figure out a way to get it all under one umbrella. So we're working on that. But I mean, stuff we'd never wanted to think about ever.
No.
But it's just one of those weird things where in order to get people to kind of go to one place, you got to just make it as simple as possible.
Yes. Yes. Art is not easy.
You just want to play it.
You just want to play, right?
But you got to figure out a way to make it accessible and get people to care and where to find it and make it as easy as possible.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Speaking of easy
peasy.
This is easy to play. What do you got on here?
Those are 10s on there, 10 through 46. I like them Diodario NYXLs.
Ooh, okay, and this is a standard tuning.
It is standard tuning, although I have been messing around with that guitar. I've been putting it in open F minor and capoing up like Albert Collins to do.
Oh, yeah, the Iceman.
Yeah, so I've been doing that. So that will probably return to that tuning before tonight's show.
Okay.
But yeah, what's funny is that people ask me, how I have my guitar set up. I said, well, how you get them from Reverend is exactly how I play them. So I just brought in my guitars that had been being thrown around the Orange Room for a couple of years without any maintenance or love, because I don't do that. Zach Green just got done massaging these all into submission. They didn't need much.
He just set these up. Okay.
He just set them up.
I was going to say, this feels pretty good. It feels like a factory setup.
Yeah. So it has returned but that's how I play them. The only thing different that I do other than how they come is that I do like the old string tree, because I like to have the G string uninhibited, so I can do my behind the nut pinging and popping and bending and such.
Okay, so you can do that fake B bender.
Yeah, well, I like to do this thing where I ping it and then I bend it afterwards. Like bing, and it goes.
Oh, okay, okay.
One of my maneuvers.
Yes.
And but other than that, what I also liked about this is that this is colored nicely. It's, the sonic blue that it comes with, or as we call it, Blucifer, is awesome. But I've always known this about this color is that as it gets older, because it's transparent, it starts to kind of green out a little.
Yeah, it's kind of yellowing up a little bit. It's becoming almost more transparent.
Yes.
It's just wondering, is that the wood or the finish? Or it's probably both.
It's probably both.
Yeah, because it's not nitro.
Right.
Which turns pretty quick. And,
right.
But this is thin poly.
Yeah.
It looks like it's yellowing a little bit, and probably the wood is turning a little bit. But definitely, if you see how light that is compared to the back.
Right.
Very cool.
But that's why I got a lot of miles on that rascal. That's been all over the place with me.
Yeah.
And but that one came together real easy when we started going back and forth.
Yeah, this there's a lot of interesting stuff going on here. People always ask me about the body. Okay?
Right.
The size of the body. You're a big dude. You said you wanted the body to be bigger than a standard telly.
Right.
But not so much where it's weird.
Right.
Okay?
Exactly.
Yeah. So this body is actually, it's only about an 1/8 inch all the way around. It's exactly, I think, 2% bigger.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's if you really look at it, you can kind of notice it, but
right.
you
but
can't.
It's very subtle.
Yeah, it's very subtle.
But it does make the difference when I'm playing. It doesn't look as, people are less likely to go, is that a 3/4 size guitar? Is that a mandolin?
Yeah, yeah.
People.
No.
No, it's not.
It's a man-sized guitar here.
That's right.
Woman size, whatever.
Big person sized.
Person sized, yes. So yeah, the people ask about that quite a bit, and then the ridge in the middle, of course.
And that's what you suggested, because you saw I had that weird Firebirdie Tellybird guitar that I got from out, and I was at the Dallas Guitar Show, and there's a guy, Mike Lamprin, who makes some guitars out in Ventura County Vintage, and he made this guitar with a Firebird body that he had like one of those Mojo-toned, hand-signed Johnny Winter Firebird pickups.
Yeah, the mini humbuckers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yes.
And but on a Telly body, Telly neck with Telly controls, but with that Firebird body. And you said, what if we did that raised middle section like the Fire? I was like, man, that sounds.
Yeah, because I mean, we had been using this on our Warhawk.
Right.
And of course, historically, you find it on the Firebirds.
Right.
From the G company.
Right.
But this allowed us to end the pickup, or the pick guard here.
Right.
And keep this kind of clean.
Yeah.
And give it kind of a unique look, because we didn't just want another
T-style
teal style thing. Yeah.
But this is a fun story too about the surround.
Yes, what you see here is a plastic surround.
Correct.
And we started with steel, I think. Yes, chrome-plated steel, and it was knocking the high end off.
Right.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it wasn't matching up well with the bridge pickup. Right. And then I think we tried some other metals, and it was still kind of muffling the treble frequencies.
Right.
So we went with this plastic and just matched the color of the pick guard. Yeah, plastic surround does not hamper the high-endy.
Yes, which was weird because I remember when I got the metal surround, it really looked cool.
It did look cool.
And then I was playing it, and I was like, man, I love everything about this, but there's something about the neck pickup. Is there something about the way that the guitar is built that might be doing this? And you're like, no, I don't think so. And then I made a little recording for you between I had a Telly with my pickups in it versus the prototype. And then you're like, I got it. It's that metal surround. And then, sure enough, when I got it with the plastic surround, I was like, that was the
very
thing.
noticeable immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we were back in the game. So, yeah.
And then the other thing we did too is that, you know what's kind of funny is that I remember back in the day when I was doing stuff for the Big F, I'd be in a scenario and someone would say, what do you think's the difference between 6 individual bridge pieces and steel versus brass? And I'm like, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? It's like, one. But then as I played a million different guitars out of Wildwood, I started to realize the brass ones do have a little thing.
It's a little rounder, a little more mid-range maybe.
There's a thing. Is it the end of the world thing? No, but it's a thing. So I thought, well, it'd be cool if we could have that. And Wilkinson makes a hell of a bridge.
Yeah, and it just matches up nice with these pickups, in my opinion. Being active pickups, very clear, very punchy, can be very strong on the treble frequency.
Right.
So a good way to roll that down and smooth things out. Put a softer metal.
There you go.
For the bridge, your brass here, and it's just it's a nice matchup. And speaking of these pickups, these are Fishmans,
Right.
and these are your signature
Correct. Yep.
set.
Right.
Yes. These are really cool. I'm personally not a big fan of active pickups, but I like these because they sound right.
Well, the thing is, and I don't know the difference between how other active pickups are made or whatever the deal is, but I was like, well, technically they're not active because I don't know any of that. All I know is that the coil that they're made with are those stacked circuit boards.
Yes.
And that there's actually still magnets in between, but that thing by itself doesn't make much noise. So they need a preamp on board to get this, and that's how we were able to dial in the sound.
Yeah.
They had this computer devil. Well, you were there. You saw the devilry in action.
Yes.
And but it was really cool. I mean, we could change things in the moment. Like, well, why don't we try to? And then there it was.
There it was. Yeah. So the other cool thing is, like, this has a rechargeable battery.
Right.
I mean, the one thing people hate about active pickups is you got to put a 9 volts in there, and you got to route a compartment, or you got to lift the pick guard to replace it, which is a pain in the butt. So those geniuses at Fishman put a USB plug in there. You just plug it in.
Right.
Doesn't take long to charge either, I don't think.
No, what I did find out that is interesting is that this one lasts a lot longer with the charge than the P90s.
Because those are probably putting out more juice.
Yeah. So this is hour and a half charge, 300 hours. This one's still the same amount of time to charge up, but it's more like 200 hours or something like that. So it's still. The way I look at it is that about every 3 gigs I switch strings, and so I just top it off then. Like if I know it's been a while since I've charged. I'll just plug it in overnight, and the next morning there's a little light on there that goes red. When you plug it in, if it's red, it's charging, and then when it goes green, you're fully charged. And if you plug it in, and the red light is blinking, it means you've got 5 hours left.
Oh, really?
So that's kind of your warning. Like, hey, you've got 5 hours. Be responsible. So the thing is that if they run out of power, they won't sound. But if you're really, you can just plug it in as you're playing. Of course, that wouldn't be.
Oh, you can. Okay.
You can plug it in and play, which wouldn't be the most advantageous thing.
Okay. But you have to stay next to the wall.
Right. Or just have a really long cable.
Yes.
But the thing is,
Yeah.
everyone's used to recharging their phone, maybe a couple times a day.
Look, at that point, you're screwed, and it's your own fault.
Exactly.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
300 hours is a long ass time.
Yeah, you can put that on the Fishman website in the small print.
Yeah, really. Exactly.
At this point, you're screwed. It's your fault.
It's your own damn fault. You've been warned.
This is not covered by warranty.
That's right. Red light told you when you had 5 hours left, jackass.
Yeah.
That kind of, no, they probably can't. That's probably not
That
good
wouldn't be nice.
marketing.
No, bad marketing. And it has the turbocharge
Yes.
button, or what do they call that?
Well, that just gets the second voice. It's kind of one of those things where
The blower max.
from a functional point of view, you press that button in, you get a little bit more meat, and you get a little bit more output, it seems.
Mid boost going on.
But what it actually is literally a second voice to the pickups. So, they like to imagine, if you will, that you've just yanked out those pickups and put in 2 others, that were a little bit more X, Y, and Z. But functionality-wise, it just adds a little bit more beef. But it really is going from another voicing. So it's not adding something to the first voicing, it's another voicing.
Literally completely.
Correct.
So you are pretty much getting 2 sets of pickups.
Correct.
For the price of one.
For the price of one, as they say. And it's noise-free. That's the...
Yes.
And I think this is, at least in my experience, this is the first time, that I've had pickups where it's like they're the preferred sound and functionality, and they're noiseless. Usually it's like, they're noiseless and they sound pretty good. You know what I mean? But this is actually, it sounds killer, and it's noiseless.
Yes,
so.
yes. No, I thought they sounded great.
And they
when
look
I first
great,
heard
too.
them.
You can't really tell they're anything other than what they are until you get up close and you can kind of see, oh, it's...
Yeah, they have the vintage looks to them.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. And then standard volume and tone, of course.
That's correct.
3-way configuration.
And I also, wanted to make sure that, I told the guys at Fishman, I was like, look, all the standard telly stuff, like, of course, the volume swells and stuff I like to do, but also the tone control wahs that you do on tellies. I wanted to make sure that was all happening. And so we made sure that the right tone control was in there. And
so you get the right taper and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's turned out very well. People love the pickup standalone. And in the guitar, people have been loving them. And it's because it just has everything. I mean, it's just tweaked out. I mean, the roasted maple neck and the...
So obviously they sell these separately.
Correct,
to upgrade your telly. But you know what? If you just buy this guitar...
You got it all.
You get the pickups for free.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Boom, done. You get the full package.
Locking tuners, the whole...
Yes,
and I love the roasted maple neck. I dig it.
Yeah, let's talk about this neck a little bit. So it's roasted maple, as Greg said, and every bolt-on instrument at Reverends is roasted maple. We're the first company in history to do an entire line with roasted maple.
No, am I high on crack? No, I'm not, by the way. But the thing I think, to me, roasted maple, in addition to having a particular feel and sound to it, per se, is the fact that they're a lot more consistent as far as they don't move as much because there's not as much moisture in there. Would you say that that's science?
Yes,
or is that...
yes, that is in fact science.
Okay.
The science is correct.
Yes.
So they heat this wood up to like 300 degrees, literally roast it, and it expels all the moisture, the sugars, whatever minerals and stuff like that. Basically, kind of cures it. So now you got this piece of wood that is extremely stable, won't twist. You don't have to adjust them as much for weather and things like that.
Right.
The truss rod.
Right.
It gives it this nice roasty look to it.
Right.
So yeah, that's roasted maple. Some people call it baked maple, caramelized.
Is torrefied the same thing?
Torrefied.
Yeah.
Caramelized sounds
That sounds
delicious, though, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Caramel. Delicious.
But we went with roasted.
Torrefied sounds like something you want to avoid, but caramelizing.
Like an onion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So there it is.
Beautiful specimen.
Yeah.
Got a lot of miles on that rascal.
Lockers.
Lockers. I love it. That's something I always put on my guitars anyway because
Same here. I've been putting them on for 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people doubt them till they have them.
Right.
And they're like, why didn't I switch?
I used to make a bad joke that I only had one guitar at a gig and you broke a string, and if I broke a string at a gig, I'd have to look at the bass player and it was time for a bass solo, and you wanted to be that bass solo to be as effective as possible, which means
And very long.
you had to make it as short as possible.
Yeah.
So the sweet locking tuner would allow you to switch that sucker lickety split.
Yeah.
And look over at the bass player and go. And,
You're done, sir. Got
there
the
you go.
lockers.
You had the moment of glory. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
But now we're moving on.
Yes.
And thank you, locking tuner.
Yeah.
Basically,
Got
the
this
end of
thing's
that story.
locked.
That's right.
Locked and loaded. What else? Boy.
We had some cool colors as well.
Colors. What else we got in this? We've added a few.
We had some different colors. I had the most recent one was the 3-tone sunburst,
Oh yeah.
which really turned out fantastic.
Yes.
But we had the Pow yellow, we had the Wow red.
Well read.
There was a purple for a hot minute, and then there's Wildwood did a run of. Oh, there's the black. We had the black with the bigger neck. That was
Yes.
a Wildwood thing, and then we did a Clockwork Orange one,
Oh yes.
which
Yes.
was phantasm. I've got one of those my own self, and got a lot of miles on that rascal as well.
So that black one with the larger neck, they
Yes.
only did like a dozen or something.
Yeah, and then what they did, well, they did a couple different runs, Wildwood did, and then they did a thing where they swapped them, so you could get a bigger necked orange one and a smaller necked black one for a hot minute.
Okay.
And that may return. I mean,
Yes.
things got a little cockeyed with COVID-19 and the supply chain, kerfuffles and so on and so forth.
Yes.
So
Yes.
at some point there might be more fun with.
There's a hardcore big neck crowd.
There is.
I don't think they're as intense as they used to be. Like it was a thing
I do like a bigger neck.
5 to 10 years ago.
But what's weird is I get old. I don't know if it has to do with getting older, but maybe it is. I like a smaller neck now, generally, but every now and again, when I'll grab the bigger neck again, I'm like, oh yeah, this has got a thing. And they do have, I mean, there is something to more wood, more tone. I mean, they definitely seem to have a thang.
Yeah. I find the slim ones are easier on my elbow and the tendons and you know,
exactly.
Old guy stuff.
Every now and again, I'll play one with some stuff with the bigger neck, and I'll be like, it'll be a little
squirrely.
A little squirrely going on the wrist. I'm like, well, maybe it's not such a good idea anymore. It's kind of like with B-benders. I used to use B-benders, and this is going back 20 years now. I had to do a thing out at NAMM, and I was using a B-bender, and I had all these tunes worked up where I was doing this B-bender thing, and my back went out. And my back was on the verge of going out anyway because I had a newborn at the time, and it was just the right amount of weight in the wrong place, and this thing I was going out to was very stressful, and I was out of shape, and yada, yada, yada. Anyways, my back went out because of the B-bender. Ever since then, even though I haven't really had that level of back spasmery since, anytime I use a B-bender, it's like, it just reminds us that right.
Oh, because you have to kind of push.
Yeah, because it's right on the strap lock. So when I go down like this, it's just that right amount of weight in the wrong place. It's like, nope. Drade's days of B-bending are over.
The back bender.
That's right. Yeah. Now I got to just do it the old-fashioned way. So, but B-benders are cool though. But
cool but dangerous.
Exactly.
Yes.
Careful.
Proceed carefully.
Proceed with risk and caution.
Yes. Yeah. Well, so that's pretty much everything on this one. What else we got? Oh, we got the 6-bolt. That's not coming off. No matter how many out of control fans you bonk with this.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's going to stay fast.
It's going to stay fast.
I like it.
Yes. The nuts.
Yes.
Should we talk about these nuts?
We haven't talked about the nut.
No. Well, this nut is made of bonite.
Aha.
Yeah. Synthetic bone. It's a synthetic material which has the same density as bone.
Ah, okay.
But it's more consistent and low friction, so it's very slippery.
Got it.
Stays in tune.
So the strings don't get caught up in there.
No. But we used to do the graphite ones, which are black. And a lot of people don't like the look of a black one.
Right.
Yeah, they want the traditional off-white look. So we developed this a few years ago. And you see that on just about every Reverend these days. Yeah, and
I love it.
The Gristle Master.
It is a delightful guitar. People are digging them. They're buying them.
They are, but we got a new one though.
We do.
Newer one. This was 2019, and this came out. How recently did we drop this?
This came out last year.
Yes. This would be 21.
Correct.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Isn't that right? Yeah, that's correct.
Yes.
Boy, it's hard to.
Close enough for rock and roll.
Last couple of years have been a bit of a fog.
Yeah, it's a blur.
Yes. But how this basically happened was I had the idea for a set neck, kind of a shorter scale version of a Gristle Master, and I wanted to do P90s with Fishman because I thought, man, that's something that I think a lot of people would really dig if we utilized the same, vision that we had in doing those tele pickups with really getting these to sound unbelievable.
And it was kind of perfect timing with them, really, right? Because they were thinking about launching a P90 set anyhow.
Right.
And then this came along, and
it just boom, 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 boom. So, and the only thing that made it weird was, COVID. We went out there and we voiced the pickups, got them in the ballpark. I went out there again and kind of did a little bit of tweaking. That was literally the last trip I did before things started to lock down.
So we all went out there in like January, I remember, before the NAMM show.
Correct. And then I went back out there the first week in March.
Oh, so you did a second session of tweaking.
Right. And because they had a couple things that they needed to do that was different from the first time that we voiced, and they just wanted to run a couple things past me, and we did. And then I said, yes, whatever, and got it all ready to go. And then literally, I remember flying home and having the air thing. I was like, I'm wondering if I'm catching pestilence even as we speak, because it was literally like right before everything locked down. So that made it a little difficult. We had the prototype of the guitar done. We had those out there to kind of use as the shuttle guitars between regular P90s and.
Yeah, we brought in some prototypes that were done other than the pickups, obviously, and brought those to the Fishman facility.
Right.
We literally sat in the studio room and dialed those in. The cool thing about this Fluence thing is they can voice it digitally
Right.
on a laptop.
Right.
Just about like while you're, and then test it and then tweak it again, and just
Right.
it's pretty impressive. But the guys at Fishman, we voiced this to sound similar to the Reverend P90 pickup.
Yes.
Which we've been using for years now. Which I voiced to sound like the bridge pickup sound like a vintage P90, but a little hotter, and the neck one a little cleaner.
Right.
If you play a vintage guitar with P90s, they use the same pickup in both positions. So when you switch to the neck one, it can be a little bit woolly or a little bit loud sometimes.
Right.
So we voiced them for each position, and then you obviously liked those ones.
Right.
So then we kind of voiced them to sound like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's kind of like 4 generations if you include the original removed.
Exactly.
And here we are.
Yes, and so it worked out great. Now, and of course, these pickups are available standalone as well.
Yes.
But there's some interesting things. Is that in order to go on this guitar, we wanted to do the same control panel that we had on the Gristle Master with the same input jack thing with with the lithium battery inside here that we can recharge, and that's the second voice for these as well. But we also wanted a. It's that nice neck pickup.
Still pops too when you tug on it.
And in the middle of them. Mr. Wiggles. Mr. Bridge. Mr. Neck.
Is that with the boost on or off?
That was with it off. So if I add it in now. It's subtler on these pickups than it is on these pickups.
Yeah, I think this is a little more radical. I hear a little bit of a little mid boost here, a little output boost. Yeah.
But what's nice about this one is it's got the push pull to go out of phase in this position, but it's not that out of phase thing where if you're like on that Peter Green wiring, you just back off on one of the volumes, it gets that
a little bit. So it's not extreme.
Right. It gets fatter. So it matches up.
That's cool. I forgot we did it.
Yeah, it's just got a little bit more of a, and there's inside the cavity, there is the ability, they've got like a quarter turn off the volume of the neck pickup. I think it's what it is.
Okay.
And so this is about, half of a quarter turn to get that sound.
So you can go in there and adjust it with a screwdriver.
You can have it be fully out of, like straight up out of phase or as much as like a quarter turn.
Okay, so if you're full out of phase, it's going to be really super nasally.
Right, and bright.
Yeah.
And this just gets it a little bit more, just a little bit more meat. Anyways, so other than that, we decided to, the reason why people ask me, why did I go with the Bigsby? And the main reason.
Why wouldn't you?
Well, there's that. But I've had guitars with Bigsby's before that were a nightmare.
Tuning problems.
Tuning from hell. But then what changed my mind is when I got actually a Space Hawk.
Okay.
And I just could use that without discretion.
Yeah, the Reeves Gabriel Space Hawk, he wanted a Bigsby that he could really just
take the pummeling.
reef on.
Right.
Yeah, and so we put the roller bridge on there, and of course the locking tuner and the nut helps. And the low tension spring with that we use on all the Reverend Bigsbys gives it that kind of a softer feel too.
And plus, Bigsby sound cool. I mean,
it's smooth.
Yeah, there's a thing that happens.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Mick Taylor's Les Paul, that he had with the Bigsby. It just sounded different.
Yeah. No, I agree.
There's a thing.
Yeah.
I know that doesn't sound like science, but doggone it, it is.
Yes.
So yeah, I love the Bigsby on here, and it's, you know, it does take a hot minute if you're a newbie to the Bigsby to figure out how to change strings, but especially with the locking tuners, it's a lot easier.
It helps. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I will say that I can change strings now and not swear. So there's that. My first couple attempts.
The swear jar's getting empty.
Yes, you know, just got to pre-bend the string a little bit so that you can just go bend it in, then hold it here, nurse it through there, lock it up, and just wind it in, and you're good to go. But the first couple of forays where you don't bend it and you're like, why is it keeps on coming off? And you've exhausted the full potentiality. That's not even a word. Potentiality? No, the full potential of your foul
potentially
language.
A word.
Yes.
Yes.
Potentially. I think he was a, never mind. He was a guy in India that apparently was a visionary at some point in time. Anywho, yes. So, also with these pickups too, I just wanted to mention the fact that we wanted to make sure they looked right. You know what I mean? Because you know they look like regular P90s, but yet they're under the hood. They
Nothing weird going on here.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. I like how they just have the subtle line in there instead of like a big logo or something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you look at them, they're like, oh, there's something different, but only if you really look at them close. Yeah. And we decided to do some cool colors with this one. This, of course, is the mighty gold. What do we call it? There's a different Venetian gold. Venetian. And then there's midnight black.
Yes.
And then there's the Tosa turquoise.
What is
Wauwatosa turquoise? That's my hometown of Wauwatosa, Wisconsin.
Wauwatosa.
Yeah. So we got the Tosa turquoise. And then what happened was that the first batch. So we did the protos early on, and that was that color, Tosa turquoise. And then when we got the pickups voiced and dialed in, that was like months and months later. So then Ken put the order in for, we want X amount of, you know, the Tosa turquoise, but by that time, the factory was like, oh, turquoise, well, that's that color, this other one. They didn't realize that it was this specific color that we had done.
Tosa turquoise.
The Tosa turquoise.
That's what we said.
So we got the first batch in a different color, which actually was a beautiful color as well, and we called that one Bradford Beach Blue.
Nice.
Because it was another Wisconsin reference of the...
which is now a limited run.
Yes, although I think it's been rumored that Wildwood may resurrect that tone hue at some point.
So what is that one there, Greg?
That is the Tosa turquoise. This is the production
let's take a look at that.
tone hue. Yeah. Oops. That one's on sale.
Demo. Beautiful. This is the Tosa turquoise.
Yeah, I love that color.
Yeah, it is. It's surfy.
Yes. So it's a really cool thing. I mean, it's it does some interesting stuff. As a blues guitar, it's fantastic, but it can rock out. It's a rockabilly machine. You put gain on those pickups, and it'll rock with the best of them.
And they're quiet. So
you
can
dead
put
quiet.
gain on them. And
Exactly.
it stays quiet. Hum-free.
It's a great slide guitar. I use it for slide all the time. It's just a killer.
And this one is a set neck guitar.
That's correct.
Not a bolt-on. And the scale is shorter.
Right.
24 3/4.
Right.
Which is the same as the G company.
Right. as
opposed to the standard Tele 25.5.
That's correct.
So it makes it a little softer
for
action.
For the Albert King bends.
Yeah.
Yes. And then we did the ebony fingerboard as well.
Ebony fingerboard, which is nice and slick. But you get a little thicker, more mid-rangey tone with a shorter scale in general, all things equal.
That's true. Absolutely.
And then we got that headstock is tilted back like a traditional set neck too.
Right.
Which is kind of cool, so you don't need a string tree.
That's correct.
Yeah, and the black face, which gives a very classy touch to it.
And the locking tuners again, yada, yada, yada.
Yes, and the same control panel and whatnot, same body. Yeah.
It's beautiful, I love it. So I go out of the house with, I've been doing some different tuning stuff, and so I've been bringing a few more guitars, but I bring 2 Gristle Masters and 2 Gristle 90s, and I'm good to go.
Good to go. Can do it all.
Yes.
Yeah. You can even play jazz on this, couldn't you?
Absolutely. Yeah. No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Very nice.
Though I have been bringing out, it's been a while, but right before COVID, I would always bring out the old Pete Anderson baritone as well.
Yes,
sexy little rascal.
Very nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got a few of those Pete Anderson guitars. I got a PA1, I got an Eastsider.
Yeah, we've got some. We've got one on deck.
I know. I want that one.
Yes.
I see the prototype.
Is that public yet?
No, we got to keep that one quiet.
Yeah.
But I'll be having one of
By
those.
the time
folks.
this video comes out, it might be.
Yeah, this is true.
But I'm not going to go full on disclosure here.
We'll just say there's something in the pipeline.
This is a little tease.
That's right.
Mini leak, we like to call it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mini leak. That sounds like. Depends where the activity.
Yeah. Or a small vegetable.
Exactly. I like it.
Yeah.
Salad functionary.
But what we're talking about is a guitar.
That's right. Exactly correct.
Yes. Yes.
Well, awesome. I also have a new idea, which we will talk about off camera, but something that might be another.
Go ahead, whisper in my ear.
It might be a joining of forces again. Maybe do another Fishman tweak on a particular pickup and do another style of guitar type of a thing. We shall see. We're not promising
Whoa,
anything.
Stop now. Too much info. Careful.
You never know what might happen.
Yeah.
You never know, but.
Okay. Well, sounds good.
Yeah, one never knows, as I like to say.
Yes, it's going to be just as exciting as these two.
I'll tell you what, I couldn't be happier. They're magnificent guitars. They play great. They sound great. People love them, and yeah, and you know what's nice about it is that it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. I mean, some people are like, oh my God, I mean, there's no matter what price, it's going to be a lot for someone. But in the grand scheme of things and how much guitars are going today especially by the the big manufacturers that have been around for a while that have custom shops and so on and so forth. I mean, this is a very, very, very cost-effective guitar for what you all get in comparison.
Yeah, and your typical custom shop would be
Twice this.
easily double,
maybe
3 times what this sells for.
Exactly.
I mean, this sells for well under $2,000 on the street.
Correct.
And we're talking about, besides all the features we just talked about, a set of these pickups retails for over $300.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
it's when you get the whole package, it's a pretty decent deal.
Absolutely.
I think so.
And I will say this, as I mentioned earlier, that I brought my guitars in to get tweaked because it's been a little while since I've had them tweaked. But I just want them set up like I got them from the factory. Which I mean, when you get a guitar from Reverend, it's set up. I mean, that's how I play them. And I don't want to mention any manufacturers per se, but I think it's just a matter of when you have a company that's putting out thousands and thousands and thousands of guitars, they can't possibly do the kind of quality control that Reverend can do.
No, it would be too time consuming, but we've stuck to our guns on that since the beginning, really.
Yeah.
My history's in repair, so I just brought those setup specs. We went into manufacturing, and that's what we go with, and that's the reason you see somebody's handwritten signature on the back of the headstock.
Dig it.
Yeah, because a real human sets this up.
And they do a good job digging
They
the
do.
nugget. There it is. Well, I think we've done everything that we need to do. We've talked about these glorious instruments. We've reminisced about the process, about the glory and majesty.
We could go on about Milwaukee, but I don't know if we have enough time.
Milwaukee's a glorious place.
Yes. How is Milwaukee doing? Go Bucks.
Well, not anymore. They lost. But they did win last year, so we can't really
Yeah, you
complain.
can't complain.
I mean, they were world champions.
Yes.
So that was a lot of fun. But they fell short this year. But hey, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
It's hard. That's why it's so, championship is hard to do. That's why it took them. The last time they won the championship was 1974.
Ooh.
So that was a long, long time. So it was a fun run though. But everything, I like living in Milwaukee. It's it's where my family's at, and it's like a big city with some small city vibes.
It's
to
a
it.
cool city.
Yeah.
I was there a couple of years ago. Went to see the Dixie Dregs with some friends of mine.
Oh yes.
But I hadn't been there since probably the 60s, and I was quite surprised how cool and hip it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got big city vibes, like you said, but a lot of kind of hip neighborhoods.
Yeah. And the lake is
With
beautiful.
a couple of guitar stores that were cool.
Yep.
Yeah, so there it is. Milwaukee's covered.
There it
What
is.
else we got?
Thought it just got a new record coming. It's coming soon. Are you still doing your duo? I dug the hell out of that duo.
We're on a little bit of a hiatus right now. Might be starting up a second band as well.
Excellent.
Let's see, instrumental. Probably 3-piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can dig it. A duo was rocking though. Who's the drummer? Your drummer's your old buddy, right?
Jim Meridian.
Yeah.
Yes, that was Burning Things.
Yes.
But,
He's not afraid to rock. You're not afraid to rock.
He's not afraid to rock. You got to go there sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What needs to be done. Well, by the time this comes out, you will not know this, but tonight we're going to the Village Idiot in Maumee, and we're going to rock that place into oblivion with the Koch Marshall Trio and Jay Navarro and the Traders. So,
Brought to you by
Reverend Guitars. That's correct, Mundo.
Yes.
So there you have it. All right, my friend. Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Always good to see you.
Folks from the Circle R, it's Joe. Gregory Stephen. Later.